G'day, friends and fans. Welcome to Dave Talks Stuff, your reliable source of news and commentary from inside the Manosphere. Today, we're going to talk about manhood. Manhood is not just about age. True manhood is not defined by your years, but by your character, accountability, courage to take responsibility, and resilience. It is not the number of years you have lived, but the emotional maturity you've gained by living them, and the cost paid is you step up when it matters the most. Now, there are many ways people over the years have defined manhood, but no woman should be allowed to define a man. Now, before I continue, this channel is sponsored by you, the viewing audience. I'm not just here as a pretty face. Now, I would like to make a living, and to do so, I'm not just asking you to support me on Ko-Fi or my Patreon, Future Fantasy, where I produced RPG material, and, of course, buy my books, buy my merch. I write books. I provide a return, a service in return on top of my content. And that merch is Empire Veils, one word, EmpireVeils.myshopify.com. Your one-stop shop for enchanting treasures based on my writing. My first book, The Boyhood of Cade. Now, there's many ways to look at this. And we'll start with, of course, the core traits of maturity. Now, maturity is a conscious choice, but it does come with experience, whether you learn it, feel it, experience it, or told from father to son. Maturity is the transformation from boy to man. And throughout the millennia, it has been defined by three fundamental traits. Resilience. A man can face adversity without breaking. Perhaps many of us, from time to time, have failed, but I think we're allowed to fail. We're only human. We are not a machine, technically. Well, we keep telling ourselves that, right? But we do often sometimes treat each other like machines. However, some of us are broken. But a man, through resilience, heals. Now, resilience is made up of emotional control, problem solving, and perseverance. So, you get knocked down, you get back up again. And as the song says, don't let them keep you down. Now, emotional control can only come from you. Master your mood. Don't let your emotions dictate your actions. What are you? A feminist? A little jab at a small segment of the population who use the label feminist. All right, because YouTube only allows us small jabs. Problem solving. You're logical, not emotional. You look at the situation, put on your thinker pose, and like the original Chad, you go, boys, let's fix this. Yes. Only the leader gets to call other men boys, by the way. Everyone else is, man, give me a hand. Now, perseverance, persistence. As the song says, you will get knocked down, but you'll get up again. Failures happen to all of us. Even the best of us have performance issues from time to time. That's what she said, right? But the lesson of failure is you keep moving forward. No, this is not a jab at people who failed and can't get back up for now. Addiction destroys manhood. That's why throughout history, every major male movement has railed against the three addictions: alcohol, drugs, and pussy. The best cure for addiction is to not take addictive substances. Empathy. No, I'm not talking about the mythical, magical superpower that liberals claim that we could all just recognize each other's emotions. As if women were so good at it. You think they'd be masters of the universe and going around and telling and lifting everybody's mood and knowing exactly what is what? Nope. Empathy is one of those most overused, abused words. Not right quite as abused as free or love or compassion or tolerance. Because tolerance ain't a Christian virtue, by the way. It's a weakness. It's not empathy to tolerate evil. It is callous at its core. Empathy is the strength to look beyond the self and consider others. Men are active listeners, have emotional intelligence, and know when their services are required. This comes from experience. Now, an active listener is only merely a term. It is like empathy. It is abused. It is basically, I listen to both sides. If you've watched my videos, you know I've listened to both sides of that war. I commonly still do. It is to understand, to see what is what. It enables me to see how the war is progressing. What are their goals? And how, and through empathy and active listening, you could spot and avoid the propaganda, because active listening means you actively use your emotional control to not lose your temper and you lose your problem, and that enables you to use your problem-solving skills, enables you to be emotionally intelligent, that is, in control of your emotions and feelings. So active listening takes in all the viewpoints before demanding to be heard. Well, yes, sometimes, particularly when you get a panel of men, it is hard. Some people have that voice, and I'm telling you right now, as someone who used to have a more powerful voice than I do now, age does weary. I still got it sometimes. The longer I talk, the more it comes out. Just because you have it doesn't mean you abuse it. There are people who need to learn, but they need to listen before they talk, and they'll learn it through wisdom, through understanding that there's more than one way to be a man. So, active listening, folks. Ears on, mouth shut. Ears on, mouth shut. Nada, nada, nada. You're both wrong. Smack them both behind the head. Yeah. You know that? If you know, you know. If you don't, you don't. Active listening brings out your emotional intelligence. Emotional intelligence is not just controlling your emotions, but respecting boundaries. Understanding that other people may not feel the same way about things as you. I have so many people who've attacked me, but what often ducks back comes from years of experience, realizing the mistakes. Sometimes it's not valid to defend yourself. They are weak boys who shout, "You're wrong." Well, if I'm wrong, I wouldn't have triggered. If I'm wrong, you wouldn't have been triggered. That's the fact. If I was wrong, you wouldn't be pointing it out in such a immature way now, wouldn't you? Like calling me full of shit. There are many people out there who do not understand. Emotional intelligence is not a measure that you can sit down and take a test like the academics claim. A 20-point questionnaire that tells you how empathetic you are. Because sometimes recognize boundaries. Recognize a homeless person or an addict as a person who does not want to be helped, that they view help as an opportunity to exploit. It is called tough love, and that comes back to resilience. There are times when you realize you cannot save everyone. Service. When and if you have the ability, voluntarily offering to protect, support, or uplift the vulnerable. Remember, you need to know they want that help. You need to recognize that some people are going to say no, either because they're proud or because they don't think they need it. You do not force yourself on others. You say, it's there if you need it. Have a nice day. Learn to walk away. See, in the past, the right was too forceful, too proud. They knew people needed help. The problem is they didn't have the emotional intelligence, the maturity to understand. You only offer it, not force it, and realize you have to respect the boundary of those who refuse it. Now, there are people who give mixed signals, of course. Those are the worst kind of hypocrites. They merely want to be seen as tough, stunning, and brave, but in reality, they're scared little rabbits lashing out to make you back off or back down because they love that little measure of control over you. Again, people who give out mixed signals, set them ring, cannot be saved. Accountability. I accept responsibility for my choices. I accept I accept things I cannot control. I can't control the weather. I can't control how many people show up. I can't control what people like and dislike. I cannot control the arrogance and ignorance of fools. Oh boy, do we all suffer the slings and arrows of the ignorant and the arrogant? Do we not? But accountability is ownership, integrity, reliability. Extreme ownership, in fact, is a philosophy we're going to discuss shortly. But again, get to the point soon. Extreme ownership. You're responsible for all your choices, mistakes, and outcomes. You own them, and by accepting them, you now begin to show your resilience, problem solving, because the moment you say, I'm an alcoholic, I accept, responsibility for my actions, or I'm a sex addict, or whatever addiction you have that you want to admit to. We all have them. Some of us have our secret vices, chocolate, coffee. Some of us, might be a little indulgent with the expenses, like like the people who buy those expensive teas, with the little come in the little wooden boxes. I've seen them, those little plywood boxes. Actually, some of those teas are quite nice. But it's not just choices and mistakes and their outcomes, It's you accept what is given. There's no demands. You don't run around hands on the chest saying, I'm a man, respect me now, or respect my authority, because if they don't, accept it. They're not for you. It's long overdue. Men raise their standards. Extreme ownership is about having standards, responsibility, integrity, and reliability. Integrity, you all know what integrity is. Most of my audience don't need an explanation of integrity. They have it. They show it every day. It's not hard. It is your words matching your deeds, even when no one is watching. And reliability. You give your word, you show up, you do as you promised. No blackmail, no withholding, no last-minute changes to the contract. No, actually, and we see this with the visceral reaction to politics. Recently, I will use with a recent senator race, and if you can figure it out, so be it. But a man had a tattoo. Did he accept ownership of that tattoo and the ideology behind it? No. He denied the ideology behind a tattoo that any man and his dog can look up with an image search if they knew how, or just check the accusations online. But so many people did not own the accusation, they would deny it on his behalf as well, without checking. So many people attack me without checking. I tell you right now, most of the sources of my Ukrainian videos are from Ukraine. And I do know Ukrainian law a little bit, where the relevant parts at least. But reliability. So you have this tattoo, you deny it, you lie about it, but then people he won't accept the ideology behind it either, or admit to it, but he started to. And that's when people got scared. Is he trolling? Is he realistic? Or is he misunderstood? And you be the judge. But he didn't go to the extreme like, say, Hassan Piker, who again won't accept accountability for any of the words he has said over the years, and got banned from UK because his extreme views did hurt the sensibilities of the UK government, but not just the Jewish or atheist Prime Minister, depending on the day of week or the holidays or elections. There's another man who won't accept responsibility or accountability or own his ideology. He's another snake in the grass. But he upset the general sensibility. And that is, you don't call for harm to innocent people just because your enemies are related to them either ideologically or tangentially belong to the same racial or ethnic group or religious group. Whereas he won't accept the responsibility of his racial, ethnic, religious groups' actions in the past as well. And this is where we get to extreme ownership of a man running for a race with a tattoo. He won't accept his ideological past as problematic. He may be looking at things from the point of view of accountability and discipline, and attracted, and trust me, ideologies use manhood to attract strong men. They project the image of strong men to attract strong men and women to the movement. But you always have to understand, right? When a movement wants to attract men, they will use masculine and often hyper versions of masculinity to attract membership. And likewise, organizations that are weak, emotional, will attract women and become full of weak men. And that's where we get a man with a tattoo that's supposed to represent the invincible manhood, the Hydra with many heads, get knocked down, knock one down, you just create more of us, that hyper masculine, Hydra mentality. So you have weak, emotional men trying to project strength by using imagery and iconography to project masculinity where there is none. And behind that is the lack of integrity. In public, he talks about protecting women. In private, he abuses women. Reliability. Does his words match his deeds? Does he show up on time? And that is where it started to really fall apart. Did not show up on time, did not deliver on any commitments that he made to the organizations he was said to represent, and he didn't keep his word. He swore up and down he wasn't a member of extremist factional groups. Turned out to be quite the opposite. And now, politically, what is it now? Plus 8 points. Yeah. If you are strong and logical, you will understand your mistakes help your enemies. You don't try to minimize your mistakes. You don't try to deflect from your ideology. If you are an extremist, why? Why are you so inflexible? So, accountability is one of the hardest things of manhood, and it exposes that many see manhood as strength without responsibility, and that your choices, you'll be there to pick the right fruit, but if anything goes wrong, so often you'll find yourself alone. And so it's not just the man with the tattoo who is problematic, but the people around him, the people who supported him, and ultimately the party that wanted to play both sides of the field, where they thought they had a useful idiot, someone who was just as fanatical as them about Palestine and many other issues, but he just couldn't keep his mouth shut. So, again, his integrity was not just the problem, but the parties. So ultimately, people have to understand, when you're a man, you are responsible for the company you keep. Remember that. Which is why so many men do not like the left. Now, there's a lot of real world scenarios we could look at, but I think daily habits. Daily habits, right? We all don't want, you know. I think I've spoken enough about real world accountability and resilience. I think most of you out there have it and don't need any more examples for those who don't. And just be the example, right, for others around you. But for those who want to build themselves up, work on your resilience and accountability. The rest comes, right? Do one thing hard. That doesn't mean you have to be extreme challenges every day. But think about your hardest task of the day, even if it is something you can't control. Uh, the hardest part, I think, is delayed gratification. Don't give in to temptations and snack. Keep to your immediate comfort. Like, it's raining, don't run inside. Gather your tools, put them away. That sort of thing. Don't put off today don't put off today what you can complete today. Okay? Don't race off. It's getting a bit chilly. Don't race off, to comfort yourself. Limit your social media. But like I said, snacking. It's all about self-control. But there are things, of course, for your comfort that you do need. Water. Regular meals. regular sleep. There are things you do have to delay. Instead of you're getting old, you can't sit for those all-night marathons anymore. Realize that it's not the TV of your childhood where if you missed an episode, you missed it often for life. There were no recordings to get. You are deserving of a reward, but at the end of the day, refrain from internal dialogue. Now, a lot of people do this. They have a negative thought, and they want to express it. Now, I can't pronounce it. I forget exactly its Japanese name. I'm just checking it now. It's called Mushin. Sometimes mistaken for Chinese, it is Japanese Zen. It translates to no mind. It's a state of mental clarity. It enables your thoughts and actions to flow effortlessly, not hindered by ego, fear, anger, or conscious thought. In the West, it's often compared to the flow state, where you getting into the groove. Basically, when you're working, don't overthink it. You have a negative thought, you acknowledge it, recognize whether it needs to be dealt with, push it aside. Right? Catch yourself, and it's only Mushin. One of these few things that only men can do. It's not just breathe in and push out. Right? Take the negative up and let it all out. No, see, Zen, something only a man can do, and that is clear the mind. So, breathe in, pulling, consciously thinking about the negativity, lifting up, around pushing out, and your mind is emptying of all the negativity from your feet, all the way through your body, flowing up through you, coming out of your mouth, without profanity or, what shall I say? You're not saying the things, right? You're not recognizing, right? You don't say, damn, that bitch got to me. No, it's breathe in, let it all out. Grace Randolph talks. Breathe in, let out the negativity. Hillary Clinton, oh, that's a double. So you learn that, and it becomes the conscious habit of not letting negativity control you. I learnt Mushin through martial arts, but I accept responsibility for my actions. I was in a car accident. My fault. I ruined my back and now live with permanent discomfort. Now, the reason why I bring that up is because men have to be able to get in and out of their comfort zone, suffer discomfort, will expose. Now, again, in Japanese philosophy, this is often done in martial arts and in Zen through cold showers. Pushing your workout to your limit each and every time. Now, I'm not going to ridicule The Rock. His 4 a.m. workout is an exact example of the extreme comfort. To get and set a routine, and if you have the physical and mental capacity to endure both physical and mental stress, and then we get to so expose yourself to discomfort, do your hardest things first, like your workouts, right? Delay instant gratification, right? When you get up, you may be feeling hungry. Well, set to a set routine. Don't give in to temptations throughout the day. Make sure you have plenty of food and water. Take care of yourself, but don't gratify yourself through the day. And last but not least, coaching and negative thoughts, and that is the recovery. Recovery comes after the exposure. And we breathe in, pulling up all that negativity and letting all out. And you may think, oh, but yogi, they teach this to women. Oh, I'm no yogi, and yogi is just exploiting women. We all know women need to, yes, it is a self-control mechanism, but women cannot achieve muxin. Muxin is a state of mind of clarity without thought. The women's, the Japanese word for women, it actually literally means noisy. Or that's something I'm told. I don't know if it's true or not, or noisy bird or something. But yes, only men can achieve muxin. You can teach women meditative breathing, and they can expel the negative and not have to. But it's usually when women, it's huff. They use it to huff at you. Now, accountability. You stand before the mirror at the end of the day and tell yourself where you went wrong. The nightly review. Eliminate explanations. You made a mistake, own it. Don't make excuses. It was Israel. It was Asmongold. Destiny in there for all the other YouTubers. No, Hassan. Your words. Own it. See, believe it or not, you may not know this, but Hassan Piker started off as a Manosphere bro. When the Manosphere did not accept his extremist views, he did what men should not do. That is, be the fat kid with a microphone and take out your anger and frustrations on others. You attract an audience of negative people. You become a negative person. And your amusement comes from negative things. Own your mistakes. Don't negotiate, particularly with yourself. Don't tell yourself, I can get through this. I'll give you a little treat. No, the treat is, I'll get through this and feel better about myself for having gotten through it. Tell you one from the team, Sarge, is the attitude. Not, give me extra pay. Or, I'll do it later, when you know you should do it now. And finish the tasks you start where possible. And if you can't meet the deadline, be honest about it. Now, that does not mean you cannot or will not make mistakes or let people down, etc. All I'm saying is, being a man is getting knocked down, getting up again, getting knocked down, getting up again. And every day, you're not going to let that man with the boot keep you down. Now, that man with the boot can be the government, the IRS, or Internal Revenue Service, or just basically the tax man. Hell, it's one of the few times you go around and say, the tax man. Feminists won't go, no, it's the tax woman. No, they don't want to own that one, do they? It's one of the few times you'll actually see a feminist nodding along. Yeah, it's a man. Isn't it funny? You know, they'll own everything but the tax man. Yeah, death and taxes. That's a man. But we will now modern and historical examples of men. Now, not all men were Stoics. There are different philosophies, like I said, Japanese Zen, and another one I'll get to shortly. But the Roman Empire is full, well, let's say the first quarter of the Roman Empire was full of historical figures through the philosophy of Stoicism rose to positions of great power. Marcus Aurelius, the most famous of them all, the Roman Empire, who embodied resilience and accountability through the philosophy of Stoicism. He confronted betrayal, economic crisis after crisis, devastating plagues, and endless wars. He is where you get Pax Roma from, peace through strength. Okay, he built up Rome. Rome's entire history, from the 7 cities, the 7 hills, the 7 tribes, was all about fending off the relentless chaos around them and putting an end to endless wars. Strong character. He despised absolute power. Though he had it, he refused to become a tyrant. Even when told to become a tyrant, even when people demanded it, although people throughout his enemies always called him a tyrant. And he had daily habits. A private journal that became a very famous publication, Meditations. And believe it or not, a lot of Marcus Aurelius's ideas, philosophies, experiences used to be taught in schools, used to be taught in military academies to officers. I think in some schools they still are. And if you know a certain person who had a bone spur, then later had it removed, had gone to the military academy, and then later held himself accountable by regretting that he gave in to peer pressure and did not go and do his duty, though, like I said, be your own judge. But Marcus Aurelius, I could see a certain person definitely trying to mimic, be that man. Now, that man's meditations, Marcus Aurelius used to be required reading in something called liberal academic. See, liberalism is an academic ideology. It used to be a Stoic ideology. It used to be a rigid Stoic ideology of resisting becoming the tyrant. Marcus Aurelius was studied by the American founders, and his books once proudly held up, the volumes proudly held in hand by various American Democrats until the era of the 1920s. Wilson and many others, Wilson, Roosevelt, and Truman, they're the overseers of the Bolshevik era and creators of the downfall, just like in Rome. Vice Admiral James Stockdale, another historical figure, an American military officer who demonstrated extreme resilience during the Vietnam War. He was shot down, held prisoner for 7 years, faced brutal torture, sold out by Jane Fonda. He commanded prisoner communications network, kept morale up, kept many men alive, developed daily habits to overcome brutal conditions, and maintaining that he would always prevail. The Stockdale Paradox. Ernest Shackleton, another historical figure. His ship, the Endurance, was crushed by ice, leaving his 27-man crew stranded in the freezing wilderness for over a year. He pulled together his crew, gathered supplies, and tried to lead them to cross the Antarctica to get to their pickup point. He surrendered his own habit, gave his personal gear to sick crew, and maintained an unshakable optimism in the face of pending doom. Jocko Willink, a modern hero, retired US Navy SEAL, commander, author, podcaster. He popularized the concept of extreme ownership. He led troops in hostile situations, such as Ramadi, Iraq, where chaos was high, the stakes were high, and the tension was daily combat. In the face of that, he pioneered a philosophy of leadership, where leaders take blame for all that went wrong in their sphere of responsibility, and rather than pointing fingers at subordinates, he took responsibility for his subordinates. And he developed a daily habit. He would start his training 4:30 a.m. and constantly went through the actions of self-discipline and personal accountability in the face of adversity. Now, you don't have to be as extreme as Jocko, but Jocko is a hero, and sometimes heroes are extreme. Now, sometimes extreme leadership is situational, like Ramadi in Iraq. But those who come out, well, you don't have to go to Iraq to prove manhood. See, military would, even right up to World War II, in fact, World War II and beyond, originally, militarism and manhood were sold as a bill of goods, right? You want to be a man, join the army. And yeah, or you're a coward. There was the absolute, particularly in Britain. And then it became patriotism, and now it's more like service. They always, however, we have to deal with everyday non-military situations in business, family life. And so in personal relationships, don't try to bring military discipline to a civilian situation, but have that internal discipline. So you have to recognize, right? That's what through trial and error or through observation, preferably observation, experience, putting to task the things you learn. And this isn't a list to, it's up to you. If you learn anything, breathe in, drawing up the negative, Breathe out, expelling the negative. And just remember the 3 main points of being a man. Being a man is about accountability, resilience, and empathy. The rest follows naturally. Like I said, I'm not going to turn you into a stoic because I'm not a stoic. I take little bits of Zen, a little bit of stoicism, and general experience of my lived experience as both a success and a failure. All men are a success and a failure. How much is up to you. As long as you're alive, you can keep racking up those wins. Empire of Elves, one word, empireofelves.myshopify.com. What has your mug done for you today? Thank you for watching. Please like, share and subscribe, and please support the channel. You can support me on Ko-Fi, Patreon, buy my books, buy my merch. I appreciate each and every one of you. See you in the next video. Bye for now.